Dusty now with some thoughts on the move.
I think it makes a ton of sense for Oklahoma State. I didn't know much about Paul Randolph, but after the hire had happened, I reached out, called several different defensive line coaches and defensive coordinators around the country, and Paul Randolph gets rave reviews all over the country. 25 years as a coach, 22 years as a defensive line coach. I think he's going to bring a wealth of experience, good recruiter, did an excellent job at a lot of different stops. He's been at Tulsa. He's been at Arizona State. Most recently at Texas Tech, then Indiana, ultimately before coming here to Oklahoma State. And I think what really makes sense about this is his area of expertise is more the three-man Okie front. And Greg Richmond, who's being let go, and he's a former great Oklahoma State Cowboy, that couldn't have been an easy decision for Mike Gundy. He didn't have as much experience in the Okie front that Brian Nardo runs. And they didn't get the production from the defensive line that they needed. 169 yards a game on the ground they gave up. 4.6 yards a carry and only 11 sacks from the defensive line. They need that defensive line to be more productive and really be more dialed in to this three-man scheme. I think Paul Randolph offers that, and based off everything that I've been told, he is a very good hire, very well-respected, teaches the game at an extremely high level, feels like a very good addition for Brian Nardo and Mike Gundy on their staff.
This was a memorable week in the head coaching ranks, as well as Alabama's Nick Saban has decided to retire. Of course, the 6 national titles in Tuscaloosa, 1 other at LSU. Alabama not wasting time, though, in naming his successor. Washington's Kalen DeBoer and Arizona's Jedd Fisch is replacing DeBoer. Here's Dusty with more.
What a week in college football. We crown a national champion, and the greatest coach in the history of the sport steps away on Wednesday. What a bombshell that went through all of college football. And Nick Saban decided to step away at the age of 72. 7 national championships between LSU and Alabama. The 17-year run he had in Tuscaloosa will be unmatched and as dominant an era as we've ever seen in the sport. And fortunately for me, I had a chance to take a peek behind the curtain, calling the Sugar Bowl game a year ago, being at practice, being around the team, doing a game in Tuscaloosa against Arkansas this year, where I was at practice for an entire day, where I was at his coach's show, at the facility for an entire Friday. You got a real sense and a glimpse just how they were able to have all the success. And it's because Nick Saban is as consistent and relentless a hard worker as I've ever seen. And he demands that from everybody within his organization. It was incredible to watch that run, and I can't wait to see what's in store next for Coach Saban. Who knows, maybe a little bit of College game day. But as he steps away, a domino effect started and ultimately landed Kalen DeBoer leaving Washington to take over for him in Tuscaloosa. It's going to be a tall task to take over for Nick Saban, given what the expectation level is around that program. And he was fantastic at Washington, 25-3 over his 2 years. But for Oklahoma fans, he hasn't been in the Southeastern Conference before. He hasn't been in that part of the country. How will he recruit? How will he adapt to that landscape in the Southeastern Conference? A different animal in that league. We'll find out here very soon. And then obviously you got to replace Kalen DeBoer at Washington. Leipold stays at Kansas. Kleiman stays at Kansas State. But a Big 12 coach headed to Washington. And that coach, Jedd Fisch, the Arizona head coach, took them to 10 wins this year, an Alamo victory over Oklahoma. And the big factor with this, obviously Jedd Fisch, a good coach, but likely taking his quarterback, Noah Fafita, his outstanding receiver, and McMillan, potentially even more. Arizona could go from a potential front runner in the Big 12 to a bottom dweller. And a big week in college football with big impacts for both the Sooners and the Cowboys.
All right, Dusty, thank you. The Thunder hit the road again this week after a successful home stretch. We have our Thunder report from L.A. You know that's Steve McGehee. Plus, John and I play those percentages.